Hi, my name is Sheldon Edward D. Travero and I'm going to introduce you the Bandala system. The Bandala was a forced tribute system where Filipino farmers were required to sell their goods, especially rice and other crops, to the Spanish government at a fixed price. However, in any cases, the government didn't pay immediately or at all, making this system very abusive and unfair. This system was one of the Spain-controlled local resources and benefited from Filipino labor and produce. It's an important part of our history because it shows the economic burden placed on early Filipinos during colonization. To understand the Bandala system, we need to go back to the Spanish colonial period in the Philippines, which began in 1565 and lasted for over 300 years. The Bandala was introduced by the Spanish colonial government as a form of economic taxation. It wasn't like paying taxes in money. Instead, Filipino farmers were forced to sell their agricultural products, mainly rice, corn, and other goods, to the government every year. The government would then use these goods to feed the colonial military officials and other personnel. What was the Bandala system? During the Spanish colonial period in the Philippines, which started in 1565 and lasted over 300 years, the Spanish government introduced the Bandala system as a form of tax. But unlike usual taxes paid with money, Filipino farmers had to sell their crops, mainly rice, corn, and other goods, directly to the government every year. The Bandala system was imposed mainly in provinces close to Manila, such as Pampanga, Bulacan, and Tarlac, where the rice production was high. It was enforced by Spanish officials and local Filipino leaders known as Principalia, who were often pressured to collect the goods even if it caused hardship among the people. Over time, the Bandala became a symbol of abuse and exploitation under Spanish rule. Many Filipino farmers were left impoverished and resentment toward the colonial government grew stronger. Where did Bandala system happen? It was mainly in provinces near Manila like Pampanga, Bulacan, and Tarlac, where rice was grown a lot. The system was enforced by both Spanish officials and local Filipino leaders called the Principalia. These leaders were pressured to collect the crops even if it caused suffering among their own people. To understand the Bandala system, we need to go back to the Spanish colonial period in the Philippines, which began in 1565 and lasted for more than 300 years. The Bandala was introduced by the Spanish colonial government as a form of economic taxation, but unlike paying with money, Filipino farmers were forced to sell their agricultural products, mainly rice, corn, and other goods, to the government every year. These goods were then used to supply the Spanish military, government officials, and other colonial needs. Example, imagine Maria, a rice farmer in Pampanga. She harvests 100 sacks of rice every year. The Spanish government forces